Hello and welcome to Courts Today by Live Law. Let us get to today's top legal updates. In a historic first, the Supreme Court has published a declaration of judges' assets on its website. The top court has set aside the Kerala High Court judgment which annulled election of CPIM MLA A. Raja, saying that replacement of damaged transformers is operational cost. The Supreme Court has dismissed Power Grid's plea to recover 24 crore through tariff hike. The apex court has slammed Punjab government for denotifying land acquired for SYL Canal, and it has also clarified its status quo order. The Delhi High Court has denied relief to judiciary candidate despite mistake in the answer key, citing earlier order denying relief in a similar case. And the Delhi High Court has ordered Centre to pay 1.76 crore for illegal occupation of private property for 2 decades and said that right to property is sacrosanct. I am Urvashi Chauhan with your daily roundup of legal updates from across the country. For a detailed reading, you can always visit www.livelaw.in. Please make sure to watch this video till the end and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. In a significant step towards transparency and boosting public confidence in the judiciary, the Supreme Court has uploaded the assets and liabilities of the judges on its website. This is the first time in history that the assets declaration of the Supreme Court judges have been made public. Presently, the declarations of Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna and 20 other judges, including the 3 judges who are next in line to be the CJI in the near future, have been uploaded. This move is after the full court meeting led by CJI Sanjeev Khanna on 1st April, where all judges agreed to make their declarations public. The decision came in the backdrop of the controversy surrounding the alleged recovery of cash from official premises of Justice Yashwant Verma while serving as a judge of the Delhi High Court. Previously, Supreme Court judges were required to submit their asset statements to the CJI, but these submissions remained confidential. Now, the full court has resolved that placing the declaration of assets on the Supreme Court website will be mandatory. Also, let me tell you, the Supreme Court has uploaded the complete process of appointment of judges to the High Court and the Supreme Court on its website for the knowledge and awareness of the public. The proposals approved by the Supreme Court Collegium for appointments as High Court judges during the period of 9th November 2022 to 5th May 2025, including the names, High Court, source, whether from service or bar, date of recommendation by the Supreme Court Collegium, date of notifying by Department of Justice, date of appointment, special category, and whether the candidate is related to any sitting or retired High Court judge or Supreme Court judge have also been uploaded on the Supreme Court website. According to these details, out of 303 candidates, the Supreme Court Collegium approved 170 appointments for High Courts, including 7 judges from SC, 5 from ST, and 21 from OBC, 28 from women, 23 minorities, and 12 related to judges, and 7 from the most backward classes categories. From November 2024 to 5th May 2025, that is during the CJI Sanjeev Khanna's term, the Supreme Court Collegium approved 51 appointments for High Courts out of 103 candidates. Out of 51, 11 belong to OBC, 1 belongs to Scheduled Caste, 2 belong to Scheduled Tribes, 8 are from minorities, 6 are women, and 2 are related to the sitting or retired judges of the High Court or Supreme Court. From the 170 recommendations made between November 2022 to November 2024, 17 are still pending before the government. From the 51 recommendations from November 2024 till 5th May this year, 12 names are still pending with the government. Well, to read about this in detail, you can visit www.livelaw.in. Moving further, in a landmark judgment delivered today, the Supreme Court has overturned the Kerala High Court's decision that had annulled the election of CPIM MLA A. Raja from the Devakulam Assembly constituency. The apex court's ruling reinstates Raja's position as a member of the Legislative Assembly, affirming his entitlement to all associated benefits for the entire team. The controversy began when Congress leader D. Kumar, who was the runner-up in the 2021 elections, filed a petition challenging Raja's eligibility to contest from the Devikulam seat, which is reserved for scheduled caste candidates. Kumar alleged that Raja did not belong to the Hindu Parayan community within Kerala and had converted to Christianity, thereby disqualifying him from contesting the SC reserved seat. In March 2023, Kerala High Court ruled in favor of Kumar, annulling Raja's election. However, Raja appealed to the Supreme Court, which stayed the High Court's order in April 2023, allowing him to participate in the assembly proceedings, but without voting rights or monetary benefits until a final decision was made. In the verdict delivered today, the Supreme Court bench comprising Justices Abhay S. Oak and Ehsanuddin Amanullah found that the High Court had erred in setting aside Raja's election without thoroughly examining the validity of his caste certificate. The apex court emphasized that the caste certificate issued by the competent authority had not been legally challenged, and therefore the High Court's decision lacked a proper basis. The Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal by Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, that is PGCIL, seeking to recover 24 crore through electricity tariffs for the replacement of damaged interconnecting transformers. The court ruled that such replacements are due to operational failures and are part of routine maintenance and do not qualify as additional work under Regulation 53 of the Central Electricity Regulation Commission tariff regulations. This case originated from a 2006 incident where three critical ICTs in Power Grid's Rihand transmission system failed during peak summer demand. To maintain power supply to Delhi, PGCIL diverted transformers from other substations and later sought to recover the associated costs through additional capitalization claims under CERC tariff regulations. A bench comprising Justices Abhay S. Oak and Ujjal Bhuiyan upheld the findings of both the CERC and the Appellate Tribunal for Electricity, stating that the replacement of ICTs falls under operational expenses and does not warrant a tariff revision. The court emphasized that Regulation 53 permits additional costs only for new works, deferred liabilities, or legal mandates, and not for routine maintenance activities. The court concluded that PGCIL must bear the operational risks without passing the costs on to consumers. In another important development in the protracted Satluj-Yamuna link, that is SYL canal dispute, the Supreme Court has strongly criticized the Punjab government for denotifying the land acquired for canal's construction. This action, taken after a court decree mandating the canal's completion, was termed high-headedness by Justice B.R. Gavai, who emphasized that such a move attempts to defeat the court's decree. The SYL canal, envisioned to facilitate water sharing between the states of Punjab and Haryana, has been a contentious issue for decades now. The origins of this dispute trace back to 1966, when the Indian state of Punjab was reorganized, leading to creation of Haryana. This reorganization necessitated the equitable distribution of river waters, particularly from the Ravi and Beas rivers, between the two states. To facilitate this, the SYL canal was proposed to connect the Satluj river in Punjab to Yamuna river in Haryana, ensuring Haryana received its allocated share of water. The construction of the canal began and Haryana completed its portion by 1980. However, Punjab's construction was fraught with delays due to political opposition and security concerns. The situation escalated when a chief engineer associated with the project was assassinated in 1990, leading to a complete halt in the construction. In the year 2002, the Supreme Court directed Punjab to complete the canal, reaffirming Haryana's right to its share of water. Despite this, Punjab passed the Punjab Termination of Agreement Act in 2004, unilaterally annulling all its water sharing agreements, including those related to the SYL canal. This act was challenged, and in 2016, the top court declared it unconstitutional, emphasizing that states cannot unilaterally terminate interstate agreements. The court ordered the completion of SYL canal, but enforcement has remained a challenge due to the ongoing political resistance and concerns over water scarcity in Punjab. Well, today, the top court clarified that its earlier status quo order pertains solely to the land required for constructing the main SYL canal in Punjab and not the internal canal networks within the state. The bench comprising Justices B.R. Gavai and A.G. Messi directed both Punjab and Haryana to cooperate with the union government to find an amicable solution. The matter is now scheduled for further hearing on 13th August. Stay tuned with Live Law. Moving ahead, the Delhi High Court has recognized a mistake in the 2023 Delhi Judicial Service preliminary examination answer key, but refrained from granting relief to the petitioner in this case due to the principle of judicial discipline. The case centered on the question which pertained to Section 20 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. The section stipulates that a contract is void if both parties are under a mutual mistake of fact. The petitioner selected false in response to the statement that such a contract is voidable at the option of either party. However, the official answer key marked this response as incorrect. A division bench comprising Justices C. Harishankar and Ajay Digpal acknowledged the petitioner's argument, noting that Section 20 indeed renders such contracts void and not voidable. Despite this, the bench emphasized the importance of judicial discipline and consistency in legal decisions. They referred to a prior ruling in Shobin Bali versus Registrar General of Delhi High Court, where a similar challenge was dismissed. In that case, the court held that minor errors in the answer key do not warrant altering the entire examination process. The principle of judicial discipline, let me tell you, means that courts strive for consistency in their decisions. Since a coordinate bench had previously ruled against granting relief in a similar situation, the current bench followed that precedent. And lastly, in another important judgment, the Delhi High Court has held that prolonged illegal occupation of private property by government authorities is unconstitutional, emphasizing that state power cannot override property rights. Justice Purushendra Kumar Kaurav, presiding over the case, underscored that executive overreach beyond legal boundaries must be met with constitutional censure. Justice Kaurav stated, when the protector of rights becomes the violator, the very fabric of the rule of law is imperiled. This pronouncement came in response to a suit involving the wrongful forfeiture of the plaintiff's flat under Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act 1976, based on a revoked detention order from the emergency era. The plaintiffs here asserting their rightful ownership alleged a violation of their proprietary rights since 1977. The Directorate of Estates under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs contended that the property had been forfeited to the central government and remained so until 2016. However, the court found that an ex parte forfeiture had been issued without a hearing and that the defendants retained possession of the property until July 2020, 7 years after the forfeiture order was quashed. Consequently, the High Court declared the occupation from 1999 to 2020 unlawful and condemned the state for its continued possession without paying rent or providing a reasonable explanation. The court emphasized that right to property, though no longer a fundamental right post the 44th Amendment, remains a sacrosanct constitutional and legal right under Article 300A of the Constitution. It highlighted that any executive or legislative action seeking to divest a citizen of property without due process and in the absence of an enabling law would be void ab initio. In terms of compensation, the court awarded the plaintiffs mean profit amounting to around 1 crore 76 lakhs with 6% interest, recognizing their entitlement to claim compensation for unlawful deprivation of possession. However, claims for maintenance charges and restitution of property tax were denied due to the absence of a valid lease or contractual obligation on the part of the defendants.